Welcome to part 2 of Lessons in Truth, the great book by Dr. Emily Cady. Dr. Cady was an amazing person. She was one of the first women doctors, MDs, in this country. And she practiced in the New York area for a number of years. She grew to study the teachings of Ralph Waldo Emerson and was a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins. And early on, she reached out to Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, and sent them a series of articles which they published in Unity magazine early on. And these became the first book of Unity, Lessons in Truth. You know, Dr. Cady tells in another of her books how she has employed spiritual teachings throughout her life. And at one point, she talks about how her own father had been exiled for 5 years, falsely accused, was innocent, and they had tried every legal means to bring him to justice. But at some point, she reached out to God and said, "Oh God, stretch forth thy hand and deliver." And within a few days, her father was freed, and the details were made known of how he had been falsely accused. During part 1, we covered the first 3 of 12 lessons in the book. They're called lessons rather than chapters. And we're going to cover another several lessons this day. And so we begin with lesson 4, which is denials. Denial is a mental process of erasing from consciousness the false beliefs or attitudes we may be holding. It's not to be confused with the psychological denial, which is refusing to accept what the facts of our own life might be. We deny that cancer has the power to kill us, not the fact that we may have cancer. We deny the power of fear to continue in our life, not that we have not felt fear. Denial is saying no to limiting false beliefs that do not serve us. They are the relinquishing of mental or emotional states that do not serve our greater good. Denial is the cleansing of consciousness, to declare to be not true or permanent. To deny is to cleanse from mind belief in the power of evil. Denial is the soap and water of the mind. Release yourself from any negative thought patterns by denying that they have any power over you. A human cannot change his or her life by just altering outer things or environment. He changes his life by changing his mind, which causes all things. Denials work because they are the MO, the modus operandi of one of the 12 spiritual faculties, the power of renunciation or elimination. This faculty contains humans' ability to say no to all that is contrary to truth, because truth exposes error. This is one of the meanings Jesus gave when he said, "Let your word be yea, yea, and nay, nay." That is, yes, yes, or no, no. We do not deny that we have any pain or that we are being mistreated or that we have needs in a particular situation. No. Denial means denying the power in a situation. denial of any power in the universe other than God, the good. We remember that there is no power in pain, in sickness, in old age, or death, for they are not real, meaning they are not lasting or true. No one can keep me from my good, and no one can keep my good from me. Now, someone may ask, what about the situations where two parties are at a standoff? I believe that we can always have a win-win situation, Dr. Katie writes, if we first let go of the idea that something bad is going to happen, and then let go of the need to be right, to show someone else that he or she is wrong. In Matthew chapter 16, Jesus states, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. This has been interpreted as we must give up all enjoyment and comfort, all the things we want and like, and do those things that we don't want to do. This could never have been Jesus' intent. Remember, Jesus said, whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. And to cease from worry or anxiety, because your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. And these things I have spoken to you, so my joy may remain in you, and your joy may be complete. So if Jesus didn't mean this, what did he mean? Katie says he meant deny the human self of us. We interpret it as spiritualize the human self. Denials are based on the belief that God is the only power in our lives. The first step toward freeing ourselves from our troubles is to get rid of our erroneous beliefs about God and about ourselves. Why is it such a big deal if we believe something that is not true? Why should this impact my bodily health or circumstances? She uses a vivid example of one who has been told that a loved one absent from you has been suddenly killed, when in fact this was not so. Wouldn't your mental and physical pain from this be just as great as if the report were true? We can, she states, by a persistent effort of the will, change our beliefs, and by this means alone, entirely change our troublesome circumstances and bodily conditions. When we deny, metaphysically, we declare something not to be true, to repudiate it as utterly false. By denial, we mean declaring not to be true, a thing that seems true. Jesus said, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous, meaning right judgment. This in John 7. The appearances are that our bodies and our circumstances control our thoughts, but the opposite is true. Our thoughts control our bodies and our circumstances. If you repeatedly deny a false or unsatisfactory condition, it loses its power to make you unhappy. I had a situation after I first entered Church of Today many years ago, where I went to Jack Bowl and I told him, Jack, I've been dealing with this situation in my life where I feel jealousy. And when I feel jealousy, it just tears me up. And he said, well, that's simple, Ron. just go into meditation and ask God to take away your jealousy, for you to deny that your jealousy has any control over you. I said, Jack, is it as simple as that? He said, just try it. I did in meditation for a few days, and I thought about, no more did I think about it. And after 6 months, I was in a situation where under the old way of Ron, I would have been jealous, but I realized I didn't have an ounce of jealousy in me. And I realized that this practice that Jack had taught me had worked. Dr. Katie states, denial brings freedom from bondage, and happiness comes when we can effectually deny the power of anything to touch or to trouble us. No person or thing in the universe, no chain of circumstances can by any possibility interpose itself between you and all joy, all good. The real innermost self of us is the divine self, because it is always an expression of God, pressing out into visibility. Your real self is always seeking to give to others. Wrong or error beliefs arise only in the human mind. We can change our beliefs and therefore change our troublesome circumstances and bodily conditions. We may get rid of troublesome conditions by denying them. First, to deny that these could have power to make us unhappy. Second, to deny that in reality they exist. Denial brings freedom from bondage, and happiness comes when we effectively deny the power of anything to touch us or to trouble us. We move into lesson 5, which is affirmations. As we journey through life, there are powerful spiritual tools that can help bring about the changes that we seek. Affirmations are one of the most effective means of gaining the consciousness that will result in that which we would experience. When we express affirmations, we declare to the universe our intent to claim that which we would have. Webster defines an affirmation as that which validates, confirms, expresses dedication to, or asserts as valid. Affirmations and denials are tools that assist to reprogram our subconscious mind. Whereas denials are helpful in eliminating that which we do not choose to continue to experience, affirmations provide new information to our subconscious that express what we would like to be, to do, or to have. In order to be effective, an affirmation must contain the following. It must be personal. It must be an I statement, not an impersonal we. It must be positive because they are order forms. Affirmations must be stated in a positive way. They must be present tense. Use the present tense or the result will always be waiting to happen. Affirmations must be short and specific. Keeping them to the point adds power because the idea is uncluttered. Affirmations must be repetitious. The importance of the restatement cannot be overemphasized because it imprints the affirmation into the subconscious mind. There must be emotions included in the affirmation. We must be passionate. Let the emotions flow. The stronger the feeling, the deeper impression it makes on your mind. It must be filled with belief. The power is limited only by the person's personal conviction and belief that the affirmations are working. Belief will grow with your forthcoming success. They must be attainable. Affirmations impress yourself, but be realistic. Be sure that the affirmations feel right for you. Now, in the fifth lesson, Dr. Katie relates this to scripture where in Job chapter 22, it states, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and light shall shine upon thy ways." This gives biblical basis for an affirmation. Most persons set out to gain a fuller knowledge of spiritual things because of dissatisfaction with their present life in some form. The hunger we feel is the divine within us, which longs to fill us. There is a place where we realize that spirit is the fulfillment of all our desires. We get still and know that all things we desire are ours already. This knowing has power to bring the invisible God forth into just the visible form of good that we want. To affirm anything is to assert positively that it is so, even in the face of evidence that is contrary. Eye hath not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. This from 1 Corinthians chapter 2. There is power in our word of faith to bring all good things right into our life. The saying over and over of any denial or affirmation is a necessary training of a mind that has lived so long in error and false belief. There are several sweeping affirmations of truth. First, that God is life, God is love, intelligence, substance, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. Second, that I am a child of God, or manifestation of God, and every moment of my life, love, wisdom, power flow into and through me. I am one with God, and I am governed by God's law. Third, I am spirit, perfect, holy, harmonious. Nothing can hurt or make me sick or afraid. I manifest my real self through this body now. And fourth, God works in me to will and to do whatsoever God wishes me to do, and God cannot fail. By affirming, you put yourself in harmony with divine law, which is always working toward your good and never toward your harm or punishment. The moment you assert emphatically your oneness with God, there is instantly set into motion all the power of omnipotent love to rush to your rescue. All things whatsoever you pray and ask for believe that you have received them, and you shall have them. Jesus is quoted in Mark chapter 11. Affirmations lead to the realization of Godhood till we no longer depend on them. Thought is an accumulation and form given to mental energy. Since it is energy, then it has power. It has power to express itself and even to reproduce itself. Everything that is in existence is somehow a result of intelligence on some particular plane. And we move into now lesson 6, which is on faith. In some circles, the word faith has been thought to denote a simple form of belief based mostly on ignorance and superstition. Dr. Katie writes that faith has been treated with scorn by those who consider intellectual attainment the highest form of knowledge to be reached. For them, doing something on faith has been what those do who are incapable of logic and rational thinking. But the Bible states faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This from Hebrews 11. So faith takes hold of the substance of the things desired and brings forth into the world of evidence the things that previously were not seen. In Hebrews 11, verse 3, it states, things which are seen were not made of things which do appear, which means things that are seen are made out of the invisible. Whatever we want in our world, faith is the power that can bring it out into actuality to us. Charles Fillmore said, faith is the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the power to shape substance. Now, God as substance is the spiritual essence or energy that underlies all manifestation. The invisible, intangible, dynamic energy, which is the underlying reality of all manifestation. God as substance is the realm of pure potential, energy that can develop into things and experiences that bless our lives. Katie explains the difference between blind faith and understanding faith. Blind faith is an instinctive trust in a power greater than us. We trust in it just because we trust God. Whereas understanding faith is based on immutable principle, immutable meaning not capable of change. Faith does not depend on physical facts or evidence of the senses because it is founded on truth living at the center of our being. Intuition is the invisible channel ever connecting each of us with God. Understanding faith is illustrated by the laws of geometry and math. We know that the sum of the angles of a triangle is 2 right angles. And we know that 1 + 1 = 2. We know that the law of gravity works, and if we drop something, it will move to the earth. The mental and spiritual world are governed by laws just as real and unfailing as the natural world laws around us. One of these is God is the reality within every visible form of good. Or there is no good that you can desire in your life, which at its center is not God. God, the invisible substance out of which all visible things are formed, is all around us, waiting to come forth into manifestation. This substance is unlimited and is itself the supply of every demand that can be made, or every need that exists in the visible or natural world. Dr. Katie states that one of the truths in the universe is that there is already provided a lavish abundance for every human want. In other words, the supply of every good always awaits the demand. And second, the demand must be made before supply can come forth to fill it. The universe is the spiritual and natural worlds combined. Faith is a power that takes hold of the substance of the things hoped for and brings into evidence or visibility the things not seen. Jesus recognized this and said, "Ask and ye shall receive." This is quoted in John 16. He was stating an unalterable truth. He knew that the instant we desire, we touch a secret spring which starts on its way toward us, the good that we want. Asking and receiving are the two ends of the same thing. Desire is God tapping at the door of your consciousness with God's infinite supply. Before they call, I will answer, it's stated in Isaiah chapter 65. Have you noticed how the greater your spiritual focus and understanding, the quicker you manifest that which you want? We have all known countless numbers of times where we have felt in the flow and things unfold in magical ways that are so easy and normal and natural. Dr. Katie states, when we think we are desiring a better life, it is really God pushing at the inner door of our being as if to say, "Child, let me in. I want to give you all the good that you may be more comfortable and more happy." And remember, this all begins with dissatisfaction with what is. So, our dissatisfaction is a direct link to our good. She states, knowing the law of abundant supply and the truth that supply always precedes the demand simply being the call that brings the supply into sight, knowing that all desire in the heart for any good is really God's desire in us and for us, how shall we obtain the fulfillment of our every desire, and that right speedily? And now we move into lesson 7. Lesson 7 being personality and individuality. The more any person manifests the true wisdom, which is God, the more simple are the ways of thinking and acting. The word personality applies to the human part of you, the person, the external, the worldly part of you. Individuality refers to is being the term used to denote the real person. This is the God self of you expressing. There are a number of names for the God self that lives within you. Christ, Christ within, Christ self, God self, God within, the I am, identity, self with a big S, Son of God, Spirit, superconscious. These are all words that describe the God self within you. Now, what are the characteristics of personality versus individuality? Well, personality refers to the human. Individuality refers to being of God. Personality refers to the earthly human. Individuality refers to the spiritual human. Personality is limited. Individuality is unlimited. Personality is temporary. Individuality is eternal. Do you see how these apply to life itself? When we think of personality and we think of the human self, we think of a life that lives in a finite number of years. Individuality is that self of us that lives infinitely, forever, without limitation. And when our body is gone, merely moves into another realm. Personality is temporary. Individuality is eternal. Personality is finite. Individuality is infinite. Personality is hopefully improving. Individuality can't improve because it's already perfect. Personality is fragmented. Individuality is whole. Personality is changeable, meaning it can be influenced. Individuality is unchangeable. Personality is external. Individuality is your internal self. Personality is visible. Individuality is invisible. Personality is self-centeredness. Individuality is centered on the self, big S self. Personality is listening to voices outside ourselves and being governed by selfish motives. Individuality is listening to the still, small voice within us. Personality is intellect. Individuality is superconscious. Now, John the Baptist was quoted in John chapter 3 saying, he must increase, meaning Jesus representing the Christ, the individuality must increase, but I, John the Baptist, the personality self, must decrease. This is true of personality and individuality. As one increases, the other must decrease. However, it's not a good guy, bad guy kind of thing. It's merely a spiritualization of the personality that takes place. Whenever we fear another or shrink before another person, it is because that person's personality overcomes ours. We never have this feeling when we're living from our individuality. How do we avoid being overcome by a strong personality? Well, first, remember that the personality is the human self of you or another person, whereas the individuality is the God self of you or that person. Silently affirm your own individuality, your oneness with God, your own superiority to personality. The more you learn from the still small voice within you, the stronger and more pronounced will be individuality expressing within you. However humble your place in life, however small your capabilities may seem at present, you are just as much a necessity to God in God's efforts to bring God into visibility in this world. Well, we hope this has been a helpful class for you. We will, next month in August, be completing the remaining lessons of Lessons in Truth, and we look forward to that time of being with you. And now we invite you to join us in the Zoom connection following the class. God bless you.